Yes, okay. So I will talk about improvements in model compiler and in TCGS editor. And the first topic is representation of threads in TCGS editor and in TCGS code, in TCGS transformation configurations. So I have a sample model and so we can have two kinds of theses, executables and library theses. And the representation of threads and the meaning, what threads mean, is different between executable and library. For executable, we have a list of physical threads, and we have a list of logical threads applied on these physical threads. So this is how it looks like in the editor. And if you want to check in the code tab, this looks like this, the definition of threads. So this is a big construct for each physical thread, specifying all of the properties, and also a list of logical threads. But for library theses, you don't define physical threads. So for library theses, it is much more simple. And threads, they just represent a list of logical threads. And actually, in the generated code, this is just a list of references to logical threads. And these logical threads are supposed to be defined in some executable TC. And before, we had the same notation used in the code view here. We were using the same notation for physical threads and also for library theses for logical threads. So here is I have a picture showing you how it looked like before. So this is how the code representation of threads looked like before for library theses. You see that all of this all of these logical theses, they were just defined as if there is a main thread, and all of them are on the main thread. But this is actually a bit confusing, and it makes it hard to update and treat all of this when you want to edit on the code tab, or if you have some, for example, build variants where you want to conditionally select which threads you want. And we have fixed it. And now for logical threads, we are using this simple notation, just a list of names. Actually, before, if you also could use this notation before, but only if you edit in text, only if you take a TCGS and manually edit in text. And define logical threads like this as a list. But as soon as you try to edit something here in the editor, then you save, and then you got this complex notation with the main thread. That was before. So now, as you see, we are using simple notation for logical threads, and this is used for library theses, and for executable theses, we are using this full notation that defines physical threads and a list of logical threads inside. So now here comes the question: what will happen if you will try to edit and change the type of the transformation? So if you want to change from executable to a library TC. So this, I have a new TC, and here I also have a thread, a physical thread with logical threads. So if you change the type to library thesis, then actually all the physical threads will disappear in your threads view, and you will see only a list of logical threads. And actually the same you will see in the code view. But right now, if we will save, then we will lose information about physical threads, because before, until you don't save, you actually can come back. So if you switch back to executable, you can see that everything is back. And also, please note that this stack size, it was not a standard, so I have updated it to be 20,001. And you see that all of these thread settings, they are kept. But if you want to save a library TC, then you will actually overwrite the TCJS file on disk, and then you will lose. So now I'm pressing Ctrl S, and to warn users about this situation, you get this kind of message. So it says that your TCJS has custom physical threads, and they will be lost if you save it as a library TC. And the question, do you want to save it? And there are two alternatives, what you can do. So if you answer yes, then all information will be lost, because now we are using a different notation. And we are keeping only a list of library threads. If you answer no, then maybe let's just try now to answer no. So if you answer no, then you would like to review what were the threads that you are actually losing right now. But a warning says that you should change the type. So right now we are on library type. You change it to executable, and you see all of your threads back, all of the physical threads that you might lose. So if vice versa, so right now for example, I will save. Yes, I have it. I will save it as a library TC, and if you're going back from library, so now I will answer yes, and we see that we don't have any physical threads anymore. So if you will be changing back to executable, then actually there will be no any warning messages, but you will just get the threads, the standard main thread, and all of the logicals will be on the main thread. So if you are going from library to executable, you will not lose anything. So last remark is that actually, if you still have a TCJS, because yes, we also have fixed conversion, because this notation, it was also generated when you convert legacy TCs to TCJS. And now I will show you a couple of legacy TCs that have a TC extension. Here we have a lib, and if I will convert now, if I will convert it to JavaScript, this build lib, then we get, I will open it as text just to show you what is the actual file on disk. And you see that now conversion to TCJS is also fixed. And during conversion, you also get the definition of logical threads for library TCs. But for executables, if you convert, you will get the full notation that includes physical threads. So I will also show it in how it looks in text. So here it is. And here is this full notation describing all of the physical threads. And one final remark is that if you right now already have a TCJS, a library TCJS, which are using this notation, So I have such an example. So if you have a library TCGS that is using like this, so it is still supported. It was supported before and it is supported now, and it will be handled correctly by the TCGS editor and by the code generator. But as soon as you will try to edit it in TC editor, for example, if I go to threads and I will just rename, for example, one of the thread, then actually the notation in the TCGS file, it will be updated to use this simple list of logical threads. And now I'm saving it, and I get a warning because I had my physical threads in the original TCGS file, which was old, a bit old. So now I will press yes, and it will be updated. Do you have any questions?